It's a list no one wants to be on. This is the debtors list compiled by the South Carolina Ethics Commission. Everyone on it owes money to the commission for unpaid fines. The agency says all violated state ethics laws. Many failed to file their statements of economic interest or quarterly campaign disclosures on time. The fines increase as they go unpaid. State law requires the filing so the public knows who's paying politicians and where the contributions are going. I went to the Ethics Commission in Columbia to learn more about the people who refuse to pay their fines.
We need to hold government officials, public employees, and public members accountable for their actions. Every required filer who fails to file is notified in writing via letter. And there are follow-up phone calls that are made.
The debtors list is 28 pages long. I looked through it and found some very interesting numbers. The lowest fine on the list is $100 owed by many. The highest unpaid debt is more than $213,000 owed by a candidate for a school board seat in Richland County. There are more than 24 people or organizations in the Lowcountry that owe money to the Ethics Commission. The highest unpaid fine from our area is more than $151,000 owed by Lewin Poston, who ran for a City of North Charleston council seat back in 2004. Poston apparently no longer lives in the Charleston area. Walker says the Ethics Commission uses police officers and records from the Department of Motor Vehicles to try to locate debtors. They also work with the Department of Revenue to garnish tax refunds. Do you feel some of these folks are telling your agency, I can do what I want and you can't touch me?
I'm not going to speculate on why people aren't paying if it's that they think that they can't be touched or for a number of other reasons.
The second highest unpaid fine in the Lowcountry is the more than $61,000 owed by Charleston County District 20 Constituent School Board Chairman Tony Lewis. I caught up with Lewis at a recent school board meeting. Lewis says he wasn't aware he had a deadline to file this paperwork until months after he originally ran for office. Lewis says he's paying the money back in small portions, and some of it has been paid with his tax refunds that were garnished. Do you think you owe it to the people who elected you to pay it back?
Oh yes, I don't have a problem with that. I didn't misuse no money, just didn't turn into paperwork in time, that's all. So I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with being held accountable.
Charleston County School Board member Reverend Chris Collins owes more than $24,000 in unpaid fines. Collins told me he was fined for filing his campaign disclosure report late.
It's unreasonable to charge somebody $25,000 for ethics report where there's involving no money, involving nothing taken, no crime, no kind of theft, just a hefty penalty on somebody serving kids, making $25 a meeting twice a month.
Do you think you owe it to your constituents to pay it?
No, I think it's ridiculous to pay it, but I'll pay it anyway.
Walker says the Ethics Commission depends on the money from the fines to run the agency. The Ethics Commission gets $1.1 million a year from the legislature. More than $2.6 million in unpaid fines is owed to the agency. Walker says they use the money collected from the fines to operate.
That's a number that can be used to save taxpayers money because we're actually using the fine amount to take care of some of the costs of running the Ethics Commission.
Based on the length of the debtors list, it appears it's going to be a never-ending battle for the commission to collect the unpaid cash. Harve Jacobs, Live 5 News. When people get arrested and wind up in jail, how long they stay there depends on the charges they are facing and the bail set by a judge. Many do not have the money to post bond. They have the option to go to a bail bondsman. There are many bondsmen all over the Lowcountry, and most are available 24 hours a day. Here's how it works. If the judge sets bond and if the defendant can't pay it, a family member or friend can go see a bondsman. They can pay the bondsman a percentage and promise the rest in cash, or put up their house or car as collateral. The additional money paid to the bonding company will be returned when the defendant goes to trial. Virginia Hancock believes the bail bond system in South Carolina is broken because the man accused of attacking her got out of jail after apparently paying little money. Hancock says in December 2017, she was making spaghetti when the father of her two children, Baron Smith III, asked her to add some extra sauce to it.
And I was like, no, please don't do that because then it'll just make it too watery. And from there, he just flipped. He just flipped out. and the fight started, and he came at me. He tried to stick his fingers in my eyes and pull my eye out of my face, basically. And when I pushed him off, then he turned around and punched me in the face. And he picked up a metal broom and broke it over his knee, and we started fighting, and it went in my knee.
What was your biggest fear while all this was going on?
That something bad was going to happen to my children.
Hancock did not press charges against Smith for the sake of her kids and because it was close to Christmas. 2 weeks later, she had to call Colleton County deputies.
He was going to try to run me over in the driveway with my children next to me.
After seeing the photos of Hancock's injuries, Smith was charged with domestic violence of a high and aggravated nature. Bond was set at $75,000. Smith had to pay 10%, $7,500 to get out of jail. His family went to a bail bondsman.
From what I understood, the bail bondsman took $1,700 as a down payment, and he was out walking free.
The bail bondsman who helped post the bail for Smith declined to tell me how much his family paid up front, but said we were in the right ballpark.
No, sir, it's not fair.
Don Mesha is the executive director of the organization United Bail of America. Mesha's organization keeps bonding companies updated on what's going on in the industry. Should the public be concerned the way things are now with the bail system?
We believe they should, yes, sir.
Mesha says one problem is that some bondsmen are charging too little up front to get someone out of jail, and that are being allowed to make payments over a period of time.
You'd like to think there isn't competition in the bail industry, but there is. So the guy down the street wants to charge less than what you're charging.
That news is troubling to Low Country State Senator Sandy Senn. So some of these people who supposedly are violent offenders are getting out for a song and dance.
What they were doing is taking advantage of our statute that was really old, and it would allow a bondsman to accept something as low as $25 to get people out. So when I learned that, I realized that there is no truth in bonding at this point.
What would you say if I told you some people charged with very serious crimes are getting out of jail for as little as $25?
If you only have to pay that low amount of money to get out of jail, why wouldn't you continue to just keep getting in trouble?
Working with the bail bond industry, Senator Senn pre-filed a bill to try to fix the problem. Under the legislation, a bondsman can only accept a cash payment that does not exceed 15% of the bond, with a minimum fee of $200 or 5%, whichever is greater.
They are going to have to pay 5%. So that is going to keep the dangerous people in jail, or it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to get out.
Hancock believes if Senn's bill passes, it will make a difference.
I don't see anything getting better within any of the communities as long as these criminals keep going in and getting right back out. I don't see anything making a change to do better. I don't see families feeling protection in any type of way with people being able to get out so easy.
Harve Jacobs, Live 5 News. In November 2015, best friends Jamal Armstrong and Terrell Miles were shot and killed in a car in the Greenhurst subdivision in Somerville. Dorchester County deputies quickly arrested James Biggs III and charged him with the murders. Biggs didn't go to trial until February of this year, almost 3 years after his arrest. He was found guilty. For the victims' loved ones, it was a long wait for justice. What was it like waiting all that time to finally go to trial?
It was very stressful because you just feel like you're at the mercy of the court system. You can't say when it's going to go to trial.
When I got those phone calls saying it was postponed, it's like my heart just sank because I just wanted to get it over with.
They are not the only ones who had to wait so long. As part of our investigation, we searched for the inmates who have been held the longest in each jail in the Tri-County area. DeMonte Seabrook, who's facing homicide by child abuse charges, was booked to the Charleston County Jail in September 2014, 4 years ago. Reuben Gretton, who's facing kidnapping and other charges, was booked to the Berkeley County Jail in October 2014, also 4 years ago. Ronald Andrews, who's facing DUI, leaving the scene of an accident with injury and other charges, was booked into the Dorchester County Jail in March 2016, 2 years ago. Gretton was originally housed in the Berkeley County Jail. He and several other inmates were moved to the Charleston County Jail because of overcrowding. Berkeley County Sheriff Dwayne Lewis says it's costing taxpayers $800,000 a year to keep those inmates in Charleston County. On average, it costs a little more than $18,000 a year to house inmates there. What do you say to taxpayers have to pay all this money to keep these people in jail for so long?
I can't control how the courts operate and how they move the cases and that sort of thing. It's my responsibility to house them forever how long it takes for them to get to court. And that's what we do.
Why are some of these defendants sitting in jail for so long?
There's something that has gotten in the way of it coming to court.
Wilson says trials might be delayed for several reasons. Those may include awaiting lab test results, mental health evaluations to determine if inmates are competent to stand trial, and another possibility.
You see defendants who are switching attorneys.
That's one of the things that happened in Reuben Gretton's case. According to court records, in 2016, Gretton removed his attorney just before a scheduled court date. Peter McCoy is Gretton's current attorney.
These things take time to build and work cases out, especially cases that involve significant amount of potential prison time. And so it happens.
For years, solicitors in South Carolina had exclusive authority to manage and prepare court dockets. In 2012, the state Supreme Court ruled that unconstitutional and ordered the criminal dockets to be managed by judges. Wilson says Charleston County didn't get the funding to do that until 2015. She says now most cases are called to trial in the order of the date of arrest.
Certainly the prosecutor can't be the be-all, end-all. That's unconstitutional, and I agree with that.
As part of our investigation, we learned that since the Supreme Court order was issued, more cases are pending now than before the order was issued. According to court records, in 2017, just before the order went into effect, there were 9,614 cases waiting to go to trial. At the beginning of 2018, there were 11,222 cases pending. We wanted to find out what more cases are pending now since the judge's order, so we reached out to Circuit Judge Mark Lee Dennis, who's in charge of the docket. He refers to the state Supreme Court. A spokeswoman sent us this 4-paragraph statement. In essence, it says that the numbers are misleading and that Judge Dennis chose to try the oldest cases first. Wilson is confident the new system will be successful.
Everybody knew there were going to be growing pains with making this shift, and we're experiencing some of that, but I think we can, working with the court, if the court will work with us, we can see things improve.
Harve Jacobs, Live 5 News.